Welcome to the 5:30 p.m. October 15th, 2024 CRE meeting. We do have a quorum, so I will call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the pledge to the flag. And that was real silent. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would you read the rules to speak, please?
Yes. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Sign-up cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests. No sign-up card is required. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all agenda items. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the CRA shall be placed in the box on the table.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the September 10th, 2024 CRE meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Minutes are accepted. City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and CRA Board. We administratively, we are having some technical issues with the YouTube upfeed, but we've got a workaround. It should be working, but the quality of the actual TV won't be what it normally is.
Okay.
And with that, we are on agenda item 8A, which is the community redevelopment goals, policies, objectives, accountability, and performance measures per House Bill 7013, Section 189.0694. During the 2024 legislative session, House Bill 7013, dealing with special districts, implemented some changes affecting CRAs. The changes in 2024 were made to strengthen accountability. First, beginning October 1st, 2024, each special district must establish goals and objectives for each program and activity undertaken by the district, as well as performance measures and standards to determine if the district's goals and objectives are being achieved. By 1 December, each year thereafter, each special district must publish an annual report on the district's website describing the goals and objectives achieved by the district, as well as performance measures and standards used by the district for this determination, and any goals and objectives that the district failed to achieve. The City of Titusville updated the CRA plan in 2022. It does have goals, objectives, and policies established. Staff will report the performance measures in the annual report. Attached are the Titusville CRA plan goals and objectives marked up in yellow for your review. The items highlighted in yellow are goals, policies, and objectives that are in progress, ongoing, or completed. The goals, policies, and objectives that are not highlighted in the items, the CRA has not taken any action on. And Sue, with that, Sue will lead you through a review of the goals, policies, and objectives. And our plan, once you approve moving forward with the current goals and objectives, is to bring you back performance measures in November so that we can meet the December goals. With that, Sue.
Okay. Thank you. I know it looked overwhelming when you got it, so there, hence the cheat sheet at your spots. Basically, when we were reviewing this, what we see is 5 topics that really we haven't touched on. So what staff is really asking of you this evening is to please provide direction to staff and prioritize these 5 items. The 5 items are new housing, which neighborhood services and affordable housing in the CRA, especially on vacant infill lots, utilize grants, develop education materials, and adopt incentives. The second one is arts district and public art, and you see a note about that. The third one is economic development. That's incentivizing new lodging and restaurants in the CRA. That comprehensive plan amendment introduces a residential density pool with incentives to encourage new redevelopment and work with the economic development coordinator on a marketing plan. 4 is public spaces. The new comprehensive plan amendment recommends the continued exploration of a centralized green or open space for events near the downtown. And number 5 is safety, develop new security measures and introduce new pedestrian safety enhancements in the CRA. Also listed are where it's located in the plan. So if you could, please direct us of what is your priority, what is the most important to each one of you, and let us know that so we know what we need to be focusing on next.
Okay, and just for clarification, that's really the main thing you want from us is okay.
Correct.
Member Cole?
I would think that for our residents, the number one thing would be safety. The safety in the my personal view, safety. And do you want us to just give you our list and then everybody will give them the list?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, mine would be safety, economic development, new housing, arts and district, and public spaces. That would be mine, okay?
Member Stokoe?
Yep. Yeah, I partially agree with Member Cole over there. I think safety number one for me, and I think we've talked about this at meetings prior, especially with things that we can't control, the US 1 traffic, as we can kind of move things more west, trying to bring back the street parties and things that as we get leads into my second one, economic development, like Member Cole. As we have more businesses down there, I think then you can spread out who's contributing and going in on these street parties. But safety, number one. Otherwise, I feel like people won't come there. Economic development is definitely number two. And then for the remainder of them, I don't know if I'm okay if they're in whichever order, but for me, and I don't know how it would be, but I like the public spaces, and I think this goes back to the consultant we had, where they talked about doing some things here. Forget the name of what we call it, but you know what I'm talking about, by Babcock, that whole area, that gets, if we can bring people there in their space where we do the farmers markets, those types of things, again, I think that would create foot traffic. I think the housing, to me, as we're doing those comp plan amendments, and we're doing the density pool, those things, I think that's going to happen naturally. That's my hope. So I'm not too concerned about that. And then same thing, I think that we're on the right track with the arts and things that are happening with the theater. As we get more businesses there, I think we can highlight the historic district and what's going on at the theater. We have the murals, we have different things throughout. So I think right now, for me, the biggest thing is we need people and we need businesses. And once that happens, I think everything will just domino effect. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but there's my vision.
It does, thank you.
Okay.
Member Nelson?
I will say I put safety last, only because we are doing such a good job that increasing the resources to safety didn't seem to be a huge problem. So for me, that came last. First came the Arts District, because I think that's going to attract a lot of people downtown. And once those people start coming in, you're going to have businesses downtown. So to me, that was number one. And then public space to encourage the families to come down. So they go to a play, it's one of the kids' plays, then they go eat, they go find a public space, and maybe there's something there for them. And I think with that, you get the businesses downtown. So, and then housing. But again, I think if you make it attractive, people are going to want to come downtown. So we're all over the board. Good luck.
Member Ball?
So when I went, and I will have a question I think you can address after we all go through, and it was basically trying to understand what the question is, the thrust of the new requirement levied on us by the legislature, without any guidance, I suppose. But performance measures, as I look through all of this, the first problem was the goals are multi-year goals. I mean, these aren't things that you accomplish and can report in December. Yep, did this, did this, did this. You're going to make some incremental movement into them. Therein lies the problem with performance measures. performance measures will say, well, when you get to the end of all the performance measures, you got 100%, you're done. So does that mean, certain targets for each year? I was very confused by all of that. But having said that, as a question to see if you have any better information, I would say public safety. And then economic development, specifically with some focus on the Arts District. And in public safety, as I went through it, fresh in my mind is the dialogue we had with Florida Department of Transportation. But when I look at our goals and objectives, specifically like goal 7.1 and 7.1.1.2, 7.1.1.7, evaluate and initiate traffic mitigation measures in targeted areas. And then the other one was to reduce travel speeds. So there are some very specific goals that we adopted in the plan that we may need FDOT's help with. There may be some things we can do without their help, but I wanted to mention that I think Dr. Aker, who's not here tonight, I think he was spot on with the recommendation regarding the flashing lights, that we are trained to recognize that red means stop and yellow means slow down or hurry up because it's going to turn red real soon. So I think the yellow is not really effective, and presumably, since FDOT's already approved that being there, that might not be that big a mountain to climb to look at least consider that. And then with respect to the Arts District, the plan recommends the establishment of the Arts District. I think maybe some formality to establishing it, if we've all agreed it was a good idea, would be an appropriate thing to shoot for. And, some of the goals and objectives that are listed under that for the Arts District, I think are very meaningful goals to start working towards: wayfinding and particularly supporting infrastructure. The Julia Street, Festival Street is in the long-term implementation plan for dollars to be applied to it in FY 25-26. So I think we can always go back and look at what that plan was for actually deploying the tax increment. And it can change. I mean, it's a proposed plan. It's not going to be, there'll be other things that come up that are a higher priority, but it's a good plan. So your summaries here are not the specific goals and objectives, but it rolls them up into topical areas. So I appreciate that. So safety is at the top. I see the Arts District and economic development as one and the same, with what we're trying to do at the theater. And then the others, I don't know that I have a specific priority on those. New housing is good because it brings more people and residents into the downtown. But when you get to reporting these, I don't know that maybe you're going to say, well, this was the top priority goal, and they didn't ask you to prioritize them. They're just saying list your goals and objectives and performance measures for how you're meeting all of them. Well, we have a lot in this plan. That's my input.
And I appreciate that, and I think part of what Member Ball was saying is, what I don't want to see here tonight is a workshop. We're not going to try to go item by item and dig into this. I think a workshop down the road might be a good idea. But tonight, I hope we just put out our very basics and you go from there. Vice Mayor.
Yes, all has spoken well. And I look at it as my number one objective would be economic development. And why I say that is because my second would be new housing. And I think that there's a correlation between the two. And because if you work on that economic development and bringing dollars in, and then it'll just lend its way to new housing and so forth. And that would bring people to the CRA area. And when you get to that point and people start coming in and start enjoying it, I like the New York atmosphere in a country town. It's always pleased me. St. Petersburg used to have it years ago. And, but if you do that, economic development, housing, and then that last one that would crouch in would be public safety, because you want to make sure all of that. The others that remain, they just go along to make the first three the best that they can be.
Similarly, I think they all tie in together in one way or another. While I'm going to put public safety number one, because you don't want to go anywhere that you're not safe, I do agree with Member Nelson that I can see putting it somewhere else, because that is high priority in our budget. But I would say public safety number one. I think economic development, new housing, and a word that we haven't used here, but I know we're all in on it, is infrastructure, which would be everything from sidewalks to sewer pipes to lighting. So I think infrastructure downtown can never be down the list very far. So I'd put that with economic development as number two, along with new housing. As I said, they come together. And then community, culture, and arts. I think that's what makes our downtown our downtown. I really do. I'm proud to say I'm a season ticket holder and sometimes count the days till the next performance. It's just a gathering place. It's a happy place, and it is very special. But with that, I also think that public space goes with that. And I think that if you go further, I think that our environmental work down there goes with that as well. So I couldn't ever really put maybe public safety, but the rest of them, I think economic growth and new housing and infrastructure are almost a trifecta. And community, culture, arts, public space, and environment are a trifecta. So I think they're very much hybrid and symbiotic with each other. So, Member Stokel.
Yep, just to circle back, I think what everyone said, I think these all kind of intertwine with one another. And I don't know how we would put this in words on a report to the state, essentially, but what I'm hoping is that we will have, and this goes to our new goal that we added as council members, the design of what will our downtown actually look like and feel when you're there. And not forgetting about like the parking component. So as we're saying, new housing, supporting restaurants, like we're not leaving out any one thing. So it's not, well, we have all this and now nobody has anywhere to park, and so we're going to get those complaints. It's like, how can we have everything kind of hit together all at once? So we have the businesses, we have the people coming, we have that open space, we have everyone feeling safe, we have things for them to do, places for them to live, places for them to park. And I think I'm glad we added that sixth goal there for council. So hopefully that gives you an idea. And I don't know if this is on our agenda or not, but thank you for these maps. I don't know if you guys have been downtown. Every time I'm downtown, somebody's looking at these maps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's awesome. That's kind of another thing we can say, check off. We want that done.
I knew they would be nice, but it's like literally every time I'm there, people are looking at them, and I'm like, this feels nice to see that.
Kind of like those old historical books that went from thing to thing. Mm-hmm. That's very similar.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything they want to add on that? Are you guys feeling like you got enough from us?
Definitely, and Mr. Muller, you're absolutely correct with the vagueness of the piece of legislation. They do not tell us how to do the performance measures. Staff is working on it with our legal department, and it will be coming back to the CRA board, where I am going to the Florida Redevelopment Agency conference next week. Thank goodness. I think all the CRAs are trying to figure this out in their own way. We've seen a handful of samples, maybe 3, and so we're moving along from there. And we'll bring it back to you.
All right, thank you. I'm assuming I call a card on this anyway. Yeah. Call a card.
1 card, Stan Johnston.
Stan, I thought you were retired. I didn't see it. All right. If you're part-time, you get 1 minute.
A half a minute.
All right, let's go. Go ahead, Stan.
All right, so, Mr. Ball and Mayor Diesel were talking about safety. And I'm concerned about, this is the, what you've probably seen. This is a photo of me and Karen holding a sign, and in the background, you can see a fountain and so forth. this is, this was a safety hazard, and this photo was taken in January, and this was sewage on my car and so forth. So that's a very safety issue, and I approached TEC early in this episode, and they asked the council or asked the staff to go ahead and see if we could go ahead and get it fenced. And there was no response back. And of course, I was there as a PE saying it's toxic, it's unsafe. I even set up some signs. I set up some signs, and the signs were removed. And there was, even in February, it was removed and destroyed and not replaced. And that was at Spaceview Park. So here we had sewage coming in and a fountain there and blowing businesses. There's Burger King right there, CVS Pharmacy. And I think you understand it's when the wind blows hard around there. It does blow hard at times. It's almost vertical. It's almost like horizontal is the sewage spray goes. So that is a problem that I think should be addressed in this goals and that you have is the safety, and safety of this is that it's really harmful to spray women and children with sewage. In fact, if I did that to my neighbor, I would get arrested and I would be criminally charged. So it's very harmful, and I think I'm asking you to take it seriously and stop it. Stop it. So it's been going on. The policy has been going on for over 4 years. I can't understand why grown adults will continue a policy like that in spite of FDEP saying it's okay, some anonymous person. So I'm asking you to stop that policy that's incredibly harmful.
All right, thank you, Stan.
Well, maybe someone would like to comment on that.
You don't see any
Maybe
lights.
you don't. Okay, we're having this is sometimes called, what I read about is a conspiracy of silence. No response. A conspiracy of silence. That's what we have here, including our city attorney, all of our PEs, and our city manager, our CRA, and council.
No.
Conspiracy of silence. It's interesting. So thank you very much. I'll be up later to talk about something else. Thank you.
All right. I'm not feeling we need a vote on this.
No, we've got enough.
We've given what you need to have. Okay, city manager.
On to item B, which is review of CRA grant criteria update. During the 9 January 2024 CRA board meeting, the CRA board directed staff to review the CRA grant program and evaluation criteria and propose changes. Staff has reviewed the CRA current grant program and other successful cities grant programs. Below are a list of proposed changes for discussion at tonight's meeting. There's 4 items that you may consider, and Sue's here to help guide you through it.
Member Ball?
My only comment on this is I think this is a really positive start. I did see an objective of this exercise is to make these grant applications consistent. In some cases, they're more stringent in one than the other, so I don't know which way that would go. But I guess one thought I have that I didn't see in any of this is for staff maybe to consider places where conditions might warrant a waiver, or at least more than one size fits all. For example, I think the withholding of 25% of the grant amount until 1 year later began as a way to help ensure that a vacant building was actually occupied and the business was going to be up and running. But in fact, the money is obligated at the time the grant is awarded. And if the project does get built, it's reimbursable. You don't get the grant. So in some cases, I think that would be, helpful to an established business. It's been there for a while. There's really not a question. They're not going to be around, a year from now. Why hold the 25%? I'm only going to ask you to consider that. It maybe in some cases that is appropriate, but if you put that in your, in the application as a hard and fast rule, then, you know, it's one size fits all. Doesn't matter.
Member Nelson?
I agree with Member Ball. We put that in there, 7, 8 years ago, because people were taking the grants, fixing their buildings up and then selling them. So we were trying to stop that. Remember that? We're trying to stop that from happening. But now, I think we have enough people downtown that I'm not sure that's a problem. So that might be worth looking at. The other question I had was, how many applications are we getting per year? It seems like it's slower now.
It seems to run in spurts. You haven't seen any in front of you the last couple of meetings because they've been under the threshold of $10,000, which by the guidelines. And so they've been handled executively by the executive director. Signing off, we make sure they still have all the criteria submitted. The one reason why I eliminate the 2-year waiting period, as well as a lot of the businesses say they don't have the money to do the entire job they want to do. So they'll do the facade work first, and then they need signage and landscaping. And so that seems to hinder that business from continuing to upgrade that property. But as far as how many we have coming in, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think in the annual report last year, we had 8.
Okay.
So, and right now, it seems to be smaller amounts. I have one that's working, I thought was going to be over 10,000, but I think it's going to be under right now.
It's
So
not slowing down, it's just the amount.
it's just, you're correct. And the one thing is we are trying to really get the word out there more often. You see it in our newsletter and visiting the businesses just to let them know it's available.
Okay.
Because in the future, we do have in the proposed budget to have more funds as they become available for these grants.
These changes seem to be appropriate. So that would be my suggestion.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, yes. What is the time frame for allocations, or how often can you apply for a grant?
The way it's stated now, it says you have to wait 2 years.
So it's 2 years. Compared to our space that we have in the CRA area for businesses, what is that? How many empty spaces do we have compared to if we had to start allocating more dollars? Do you have any idea of how many stores that could be put in, or how many empty buildings that could be renovated and put, that would bring more businesses down? Or are we at full capacity, or 2/3 capacity, 3/4 capacity? What would you say?
I'm not sure the amount. I know that we're working on a map to have for that availability so that people can see that. I know there is a lot of room. As you drive around the CRA, you can see that there is a lot of room. I don't know, and a huge success story is the most recent one is the Kava Roots. If you saw the before and after picture, it'll be in this, or it should be in this talking points. But what a huge difference. And it's a very viable, feet are there, people are there. So that's the kind of grants I know that y'all like to see. And that's the encouraging part, is that was truly blighted.
Okay.
Member Stokel?
Yes. My question is to staff, how do you feel about these 4 additions? And are there other things that maybe people are inquiring and you have to tell them, nope, that doesn't meet the criteria, that we should potentially look at? As we all kind of stated that our goal is to see more growth and economic development there. Is there something that maybe we're missing or that we should consider, or do you feel good about these 4 things?
The reason these are recommended for the 4 is this is what staff could find. And
Okay,
really
okay.
ours are really good grants, I have to say, and looking
Based
at the other
on
states.
others? Okay.
There is the one item where we are the only city I've found that we do, because we have the contract where it states in there, you can't sell it within 5 years, and it's binding and all the clawbacks and things of that nature. And then we are the only city that I have found that we take it a step further. And once we do that first payment out of 75%, we put a lien on that property for the amount of the grant. That's the only thing that I have seen. But for what people are asking for, this is really
Okay.
covering it. But that's
Okay.
the only difference I've really seen.
But you haven't seen that has been a deterrent where people were like, oh, I was going to apply, but because that's there and I have to sign it, I'm not. Okay.
No, ma'am.
That would be my thing, is what you guys see in the day-to-day working with individuals of, that's my hope, is whatever we can do to help support our businesses in the downtown. I'd love to support all of our businesses. But specifically, we can do it here in the CRA, what we can do to help them be successful. And I think we all know it's unique challenges that we face, I think, in downtown just because of where we're situated. But I think we'll get there, so.
Yeah, the exterior grants particularly, we cover a lot. We do. More than some cities, most definitely. The interior, we have to be careful of because that's ADA compatibility. If we take it any further, it can't be used for renovation, for just putting in the interior things that they should have been doing all along. So ours are really good. These were the only 4 points. That's why I kept looking and looking and looking. These were the items that really stuck out for me.
Very good. Member Ball.
I think two things that came to mind as we were talking, and I think the one, when I mentioned the disparity between the two grants in some of the requirements, some more stringent than others, I noted reading through the commercial improvement, the interior improvement, that ad valorem properties or ad valorem exempt properties are not eligible. But whereas on the exterior grants, if you can be a nonprofit, but if you're demonstrably drawing people, if you have a commercial activity going on that's bringing people to the downtown, you're okay. So I would say to take a look at that one, because if you went one way, I mean, just when we talk about arts and culture being a key mechanism for bringing people into the downtown, it's not just the theater. Museums are nonprofit, et cetera. You could have other examples of things that would be nonprofit, but they're actually very attractive to bring people into the downtown. And with regard to the lien, I don't know if I'll just say that the Division of Cultural Affairs, the state, and the Department of State, when you get a facilities grant from them like we did for stage 2, they require for their grant to enter into a restrictive covenant, basically, and it gets recorded. It's not the same as a lien, but it has the same effect, basically. So maybe it doesn't make any difference, but we could certainly, share that with you if you wanted to consider that.
All right, thank you. I would agree with Member Nelson that it's appropriate. I also always enjoy hearing you guys speak because obviously your knowledge is great and your commitment is real. And between all that, I don't worry about it too much. I'm glad we get to have our input, but I would say that what I see is solid. City Clerk?
There's no cards.
We don't need to vote on this one either? I don't think so either.
I think what we've asked for is for you to provide feedback, and I think we got it.
All right, City Manager.
Petitions and requests?
All right, petitions, requests. Come on, Stan, somebody talk to you at home.
I can do it. Stan Johnson, professional engineer. I've sent you an email dated October the 2nd requesting a motion to terminate the city manager for cause, and that's the cause of the sewage spraying women, children, and babies and so forth, which is a very, as far as I can see, it's a criminal activity. that the city continues to have a policy to not stop it. In spite of people coming to the podium and requesting that to stop it because they've had diarrhea, vomiting, and sickness. That's what I'm asking. So maybe you'd like to do that. Maybe someone would like to do it. Maybe somebody's brave enough to do it. Okay. Now, following an October 2nd one is I've sent you emails, for example, to Dan Diesel and for you that I've been sending you emails and phone calls day after day after day that you're not responding to. And about this particular item of the sickness and perversion and the hypocrisy of just spraying women, children, and babies with sewage. This began December 2020, and now it's been almost 4 years, and the policy continues. And so I have emails dated October 11th, 2 emails of that. And today, this morning, I sent you an email, and I believe I'd like you to confirm this, City Clerk, is that you have a copy of October 15th letter. That's to our governor, because I'm telling him that I can't get anybody to do it. I can't get the police to do it. I can't get the state attorney to do it. I can't get FDEP to do anything, and I can't get city manager. I can't get city council, CRA. Nobody will do it here, and I call it a conspiracy of silence. And in parentheses on the letter, I put on one of these emails, I put a criminal activity. Are you guys? So this is this has already been sent to the governor. You have a copy of it, and this CRA meeting has a copy of this letter. So I'm asking you again to terminate city manager for this cause. Okay, I think what you understand is also said is you're going to have a legacy left here. Is the city of Titusville is the only city in the world under your watch. It deliberately sprays women, children, and babies with sewage. The only city in the world. Only city in the world. That's your responsibility. That's what you've done. I think it's, and it's against my religion.
Thank you very much.
May I have another minute?
No, not at all. Go ahead and have a seat. Go ahead and have a seat. I'm not going to let that ride without saying that I totally believe that's untrue. I think you know it's untrue. You've been saying it for 4 years, and I'll just leave it at that. Nobody purposely sprayed anybody with anything, and almost nobody got sprayed unless they stood right next to it.
I got it.
Like you did.
My car got covered.
Like you did. Thank
I
you.
didn't
Have a
purposely
seat.
do it.
Have a seat. All right. Anybody else? I see none. City manager.
Last item is the executive director's report, information items, subject to your questions. And I think Sue wants to show you the new banners that are going to be erected in the downtown district.
All of them, but this is one of the new ones. Oh, wow. So these will be going up shortly.
Oh, yeah, nice. Nice.
Iconic bridge in nature, just face of nature. And I wanted to give a shout out to Public Works. When those kiosks came in, it was right before a weekend where we had 2 events, and I contacted Public Works and sort of begged to see if I could get somebody to come in and put it down. And they did. And they did. And I think yeah.
Anything else? Member Ball?
Just a quick comment. Of course, the recent storm and all the events related to it were citywide, but on behalf of the CRA, I want to tell the city manager, your staff is great. And they worked hard, Public Works, both, things they had to do before the storm, during the storm, and clean up after the storm. And we're very fortunate to have the caliber of employees that we have in the city of Titusville. And of course, they come under the leadership of the city manager. So thank you.
Thank you. Well said. And I may comment on that more later. I was fortunate to be in the EOC with so many people who are here right now. And city manager led that charge. And I got to talk to some firefighters on the way out and some solid waste people picking things. I mean, they were just constantly on the go. Their week was for us. So I appreciate that. All right. If there is nothing else, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.